Hello friends and students of the Force, and welcome back to the channel. With the Kenobi series concluding, the final episode included a crucial scene that on-screen canon heretofore had yet to be explored and explained, which was Vader's official decision to cease his hunt for Kenobi. We've seen many possible explanations in Legends and in canon comics as to why Vader had finally decided to give up his search on his former master. But now, thanks to the Obi-Wan series, we have a tangible conversation from which to draw from for why Vader was surprised to feel Obi-Wan's presence on the Death Star in A New Hope. But the question still remains, after all of the persistent searching that Vader did over the course of the Obi-Wan series, why did he seem to so easily drop the whole thing after Sidious told him to? In the comics, it took many repeated attempts for Sidious to get Vader to forget hunting Jedi, and Obi-Wan specifically, so what made this the final straw? Why was this the last moment where Darth Vader decided that he was no longer going to search for Obi-Wan, and would not hear from his former master for the next 10 years? Well, we have the answer. First though, according to my analytics, a lot of you guys that watch the channel haven't actually subscribed yet, so if you've been enjoying the Star Wars content and want to stay up to date on everything Star Wars related, force crush that subscribe button. The answer is actually a little more straightforward than one may think. In their conversation with Sidious, Vader was angrily declaring to Sidious he would search and destroy every system in his way until he found Obi-Wan again, to which the Emperor calmly replied, "You seem agitated, my friend." As Vader continued to say that Obi-Wan would not evade him, Sidious simply replied that it did not seem as though Vader's thoughts were entirely clear on this matter, and that his feelings towards his old master have left him weakened. This took Vader aback, and he ceased his verbal tirade and began to deeply think on Palpatine's words. He thought back to his duel upon the rocky planet, how Obi-Wan had bested him yet again, even despite everything he had trained for and overcome over this past decade. He had Kenobi in his clutches and was getting the revenge that he desired finally. And yet, Obi-Wan still came through and beat Vader for a second time, just as he had 10 years earlier. As we explained in our video detailing why Vader was weak during the duel, his emotions had clouded his usual cold and stoic judgment. He found that his power was fleeting because of Anakin Skywalker's tunnel vision towards his old master, tunnel vision that now Vader had inherited. The Emperor then continued, "If your past cannot be overcome." It did not take long for the silent threat to hang in the air before Vader quickly assured him that Kenobi meant nothing and that he only served the Dark Lord. It was a strange thing for Vader to have to assure Palpatine that he only served him, as you think that this would have been implied. However, Sidious alluded to the fact that Vader's feelings were betraying him, and that Vader seemed to only care for finding Kenobi and disregarding the teachings of his new master and the ideology of the Sith. What the Emperor was saying, without outright saying it, is that Anakin Skywalker still lived on deep within Vader, and that this is what Palpatine was warning him about. The quiet threat that the Dark Lord gave to his apprentice was that he would never be strong enough to rule by his side and become a true Sith if Anakin Skywalker's past was still lingering. When Sith take on their new names, oftentimes this meant officially killing their past self and becoming someone new, someone greater. As it is explained in the Darth Bane novels, as soon as Bane chose his new name, he henceforth ceased to be Desil, the miner from Apatros, and was now Bane, a Lord of the Sith, destroying the being that was Desil. By the time another decade had elapsed, Bane rarely even thought back to his old life at all, and considered Desil an entirely different person. The memories he might have once held were the memories of another, a weaker man. This was the same way that all Sith acted towards themselves regarding their old lives and their old names. However, when Vader took his name, there was still very much a lot of Anakin Skywalker left that had yet to be destroyed, and that was made specifically difficult by Padme's death, and the continued existence of Obi-Wan Kenobi, the subject of his torment. Obi-Wan, who was the chief reminder of Anakin's former life and his failures. Vader had attempted to kill his old master not only for revenge, but because he felt like he could finally kill the last parts of him that were still Anakin. However, this hyperfixation on Obi-Wan ended up doing the exact opposite and bringing Anakin around more than he had ever intended. With Palpatine's piercing words, Darth Vader finally realized what this search of his was causing and what it would ultimately lead him to. So he finally let go of Obi-Wan completely and said that Obi-Wan meant nothing to him. Whether Vader believes this statement to be true or not, however, is a subject up for debate. But what we do know now is that Vader has fully accepted himself for his new life, and he has a new man that he has become. No more Jedi, No more Kenobi. No more Anakin. Previously, the Emperor had to ask Lord Vader formally to stop hunting down and killing Jedi, leaving it to what remained of the Inquisitors at the time. The reason for this is because Palpatine deemed the Jedi to not be a threat at all. At this point in time, Palpatine does not consider Obi-Wan to be a threat, or Yoda. This is why they have far less resources dedicated to the eradication of the Jedi, because even if there are some Jedi out there, Palpatine believes that they are far too weak and have absolutely no chance of mounting any resistance against Lord Vader and himself. He also believes that Darth Vader's fascination and even obsession with killing Jedi has in fact made him weaker, and that these are signs that Anakin Skywalker is still around, because Anakin's hatred for the Jedi and Obi-Wan are exactly that. They're Anakin's hatred, not Lord Vader's. And this is exactly why Darth Vader lets go of his search, because of the fact that he's still holding on to the hatred for Obi-Wan Kenobi. But again, this is not Vader's hatred, this is Anakin's. And even if Anakin's hatred is still around, that means that Anakin is still around. And the Emperor believes that this severely weakens Darth Vader, his apprentice, which of course he is correct. This is why presumably there are not massive search efforts on the world of Tatooine, and this is also likely a major contributor why Darth Vader was not able to find Obi-Wan for the following next 10 years, because of the simple fact that he was not looking. Of course, when Obi-Wan presents himself on the first Death Star, Vader jumps at the opportunity to prove his superiority. But this is Darth Vader in this moment. Anakin is not dueling Obi-Wan on the Death Star, it is completely Lord Vader. But again, Vader does not go out of his way to hunt and kill Obi-Wan Kenobi. But anyway, my friends, what are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on this explanation? And what are your thoughts on why Darth Vader abandoned the search for Obi-Wan past the events of the Obi-Wan series? Do you agree with Darth Sidious, and do you believe that in order for Darth Vader to truly be the only entity, that he had to let go of Anakin, including his hatred for Obi-Wan? As always, my friends, I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions on this in the comments down below. And as always, may the Force be with you, and I hope that you have a great day.